Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's me, Sean Bischoff. I'm the general manager of Triumph, and you're watching and listening to episode 10 of Together. Today's guest is none other than Peter Nguyencong. He's the CEO of Advanced. I'm really excited to talk to him. But before we jump into the actual show, I do want to read a little bit of an advertisement. Okay, I got to bump my impressions up a little bit. I'm really excited to talk to Peter, so it should be no surprise to you that what I'm going to tell you to do is go to advanced.gg, check out their products. Do so during the podcast. If you're sitting at your computer, if you have nothing else better going on, check it out. They make gaming supplements, powdered drink formulas, things that you've seen before, but they do it better. I swear to God, I live by their formula. I love it. It's great. It's a good, healthy alternative. It's something that I am really excited about. It's something that it was like one of the first things that I wanted to get for our teams when we started putting together teams last year. And if you've never, purchased a product like theirs before, I urge you honestly to check it out. Go to advanced.gg, use code Triumph, get 10% off, buy a tub, see if you like it. My favorite flavor, no joke, is Aspen Blue Raspberry. I drink that stuff, dude. I've got empty tubs. Okay, check it out. Now, without further ado, let's get into the show. All right. Peter, I'm sorry I've kept you waiting. I know it's been a long morning. Welcome to the show, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here. Super excited to get together and have a conversation.
Yes, man. I'm really excited. I've been anticipating this episode for a while now. Usually I'm just talking to gamers. You know what I mean? I'm just talking to absolute degenerate schedule, gamers.
That's funny. Not to burst your bubble, but on some level, I have to say that I'm probably a gamer too. So adding to the pile, I guess.
Well, yeah, but you have a collared shirt, so there's a slight difference.
Yeah,
between you and my typical guest.
That's true. That's true.
So yeah, man, I'm really thankful for you making time today. I know you're busy. I know what it's like, to take an hour out of your time. Especially moving in between places. Like I'm literally, this set looks like my bedroom's normal, but it's not. There's absolutely nothing other than this picture and that dresser. My entire apartment's empty.
Oh, that's funny.
So
yeah,
I've been waiting eagerly to have this conversation with you because you and I had never really spoken. The only time you and I really talked was when I first reached out to you about Advanced, working with Triumph. And I've always been really interested in what you guys are doing. And so I wanted to give a little bit of an opportunity for you to kind of have a platform to talk about Advanced, but also I want to learn a lot about what it is that you guys do and what your outlook is. So sure. If you don't mind, I guess we can just start the show off for the listeners. If you can give me some backstory maybe on the birth of, the birth of Advanced, the birth of, your position and sort of what that journey's been like for you.
Sure. I'd say that our quote unquote origin story or whatnot, it's pretty unorthodox when it comes to most quote unquote gaming supplement companies. As I touched on about 2 minutes ago that, I myself consider a gamer on some level. And I'd say that most of the founders of Advanced met each other in gaming as gamers. We didn't meet each other as we're looking to start a company who's going to be a good person to be on the board or, to found this company with. We actually just met each other through gaming. We actually met through a massively successful game called Destiny. I'm sure you heard of it. Yeah. I personally was extremely active as part of the PvP community. At some point, eventually transitioned to starting to host some of the most premier tournaments in Destiny. And that has all of its pains, and anyone who's done any type of TO before can understand that. But then you take in like a game like Destiny that doesn't have spectator mode. I mean, it brings a whole new level of complexity and intricacy of creating an event, creating a show. And that ended up taking up way more time than I thought it was, but it was super fun at the same time. And that started the decline of my gaming hours per se. But, if anyone doubts that at some point I was a true gamer, you can go to wastedtimeondestiny.com and look up my profile. It's just my first initial and then my last name. just Nguyencong. And I don't know. I think it says I have like 1,800 hours into this game or something like that. Like it's wild how much time that we used to spend on that. But I mean, I have to say that through being a TO in that space, I mean, I began to build these connections and these friendships, and those are the things that have propelled Advanced to the success that we are today. Advanced at its core is legitimately endemic to the gaming space, and we are gamers, and I think that's what makes us different from most of the other companies out there. And I don't know. I mean, some of those companies, and I'm sure you've seen them too, it almost feels like they're just trying to cash in on an industry that they don't know anything about, and that's why, I would say that my personal relationships are much different with the people that I work with, simply because, I mean, I live and breathe the same space per se. Mm-hmm. I pride myself on the relationships I personally have with our partners and our community. And, I should take a moment and say that I love the Destiny OGs with all my heart, and honestly wouldn't be here without their unwavering support, over the years. And, and that's something I genuinely feel about. So, but yeah. I mean, so long story short, so to answer your question, right. I mean, we saw this space that was gaming supplements, and felt that it could use improvement. And through some of the networks that I built through that TO phase of my life, I guess, we got together and was like, we could kind of like be the Apple of the space, right? We'll never be the ones who invented the idea or thought up the idea, or, was like, oh, we should do this powdered supplement thing. We'll be first. But we can definitely iterate on it and make it better, and I think some of the key things that we nailed down right away of like, this is what we stand for. This is what we want to do. Number one was an open label, having a fully transparent product. Number two was having a product that actually works. And that kind of goes hand in hand with open label. Three, we didn't want any fillers on our product. It doesn't affect everybody, but I mean, some fillers can actually spike insulin levels in diabetics. And four, this was huge for me, is that I didn't want any bro gamer branding for Advance. I think there's tons of those out there, and I mean, I think it's overplayed, and realistically, it doesn't really appeal to everyone. And then finally, my thing was that I wanted to be able to have something for everyone, and what I mean by that is, not everyone wants to or can consume caffeine. And if that's the case, what can they have? And that's when we introduced the chill product with the CBD ingredient. I mean, it does the exact opposite of what Focus does per se. And I thought that was really important because, gaming is different for everyone. I mean, like all the guys who play on Triumph, or girls, are typically more of the hardcore gamer, I would say. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you have the 35-year-old that grinds 9 to 5 all day, every day, Monday through Friday. And at the end of the day, just wants to sit back and, chill. Right. And, Focus is not the answer for that person, maybe, and so I wanted to make sure that we had something for everyone. And so there's a product that is the same concept of just mixing up some powder, shaking it up and drinking it, but this can better fit that person's lifestyle, as opposed to getting all hyped and amped, or hyper focused drinking Focus. So I think those are the 5 major things that, that we nailed down. Was like, okay, this is what we want to address. And we went from there.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting, man. I never gave it that much thought about, the difference in the two products that you guys are providing. Like, obviously I understand the idea behind Focus because I come from like a performance, development sort of perspective.
Sure.
Or like you said, like Triumph's teams obviously are playing professionally. So like we need energy supplements that give us energy and help us, engage. And I never really thought about sort of this entire other like, gaming, I guess, like group. Basically, it's like probably 50% of gamers that are just people that are just trying to, kick back after a long day of work. And I never even really thought about that as that being like the purpose behind chill. That's actually really interesting to me.
Yeah. And for professionals, chill has its place too, right? Like, I mean, we have a lot of partners who are streamers, right? That's their job, and obviously they need all the energy they can get and their focus, the focus helps with managing that chat that's running at 100 miles an hour while still trying to play the game that they're playing at the same time. But I mean, at some point you got to kind of wind down and come off of that high or that level of energy that you have to put out there, that's their 9 to 5, right? And chill helps with that too, for people who are in that crossbreed of like the fitness gamer, that's starting to become a thing now where there's these guys and girls that are just super fit. They work out all the time, but they're also avid gamers. Chill with the CBD component is great for recovery after workouts, and so, people who know, I will say that, we don't do a ton of marketing or branding, or advertising on the CBD portion of our products simply because of the way the society is right now and the control of social networks and all that kind of stuff. So it's a little harder to, push that message. But it's there for people who do understand it and want to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think what you guys have done anyway, and sort of to look at the overall scope of what you've done with just a very small amount of products, really just 2 main products. It's impressive. I think the most thing the thing that's most impressive about you guys, the thing that I like the most anyway, is the attempt to like have the healthiest alternative possible. You and I have talked in the past about sugar. I told you before, like, I think that's like the biggest thing is like sugar and sugar alternatives. Like a lot of your competitors, for instance, like really popular competitors, like the top 3, top 4 brands in your space, they're just full of additives and sugars that are really bad for your health. And for me personally, like I don't know about you. I don't know what you were drinking before Advanced. Like maybe you were like a Red Bull guy or whatever back in your Destiny grinding days. But I always was like a big Monster drinker, and of course it's not, I'm not trying to slight Monster. I still drink Monster sometimes, of course, when I'm not drinking Advanced. But like I used to be really bad. It was really bad for my health. I was seeing like the negative effects of drinking too many energy drinks, too many sugary drinks, sodas and stuff like that. And so a product like Advanced is good for someone like me. And I really appreciate the effort that you guys are putting in anyway on trying to have a healthy alternative to an energy drink. Yeah.
In my older years, espresso and coffee is pretty much, my jam, and like you're saying, sometimes you can't replace a hot coffee, just that creature comfort of that. Right. So yeah, I'm not going to lie and say that Advance is the only thing I drink, because that's just not true. But prior to that, God, when I was, still a teenager and like Diablo was the thing at that point in time, I'm not gonna lie. I would probably kill a 2-liter in a sitting in a session of Diablo gameplay, that was like my life back then. A Mountain Dew 2-liter gone, just you're right. Super unhealthy, super crazy, kind of hard to imagine. That's what I was shoving in my body in very small quantities of time. But yeah, it's definitely not good for you. I don't recommend that to anyone. But yeah, true story, but yeah.
Hey, when I was younger, I was also playing Diablo 2, and I was also drinking 2 liters, and my drink of choice was Faygo, and that catches up with you. So I'm curious, like, what was the impetus to go this direction? Like, was back in your days of just like prior to Advanced, really just like grinding Destiny, what caused you to make the transition to focus on the energy supplement world rather than anything else? Like why was this like the thing that was important to you?
Well, I mean, it's something I think you mentioned earlier, and you were talking about creating a health conscious product in the energy space and that kind of stuff. And I think the real reason behind it is saw an opportunity, obviously, just capitalizing on something that could be done, could be better. But a lot of the decisions I make about the company really relate back to, as unrelated as this may sound, but it kind of relates back to my kids, right? So, I mean, I have a 7 and 5-year-old, and pretty much every decision I make, everything that I put out there that is attached to my name, I'm very careful about that. I want them to be able to look at that in the future and be proud of what I was a part of, and not crutch on like toxic messages or that type of branding, or leaning into those things that sell really well per se. But at the end of the day, is it, a good look? Is it a good example? Is it a good form of modeling for my kids? And because, I mean, everyone knows now the internet's forever, right? I mean, like this video and this podcast right now, I mean, it's going to be on the internet forever.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah, and so like when they look back at, my, portfolio of work or whatever, is that something they'd be like, I'm proud that was my dad, or that is my dad, or that's what my dad created, or was a part of, and that's what he stood for. And those are the things that, are, really important to me, as dumb as that may sound, or as unrelated as that is. Pretty much all the decisions that we make, and that I have input into, that's one of the first things that are always coming to my mind. And that's, maybe it's not great in the long term, for maybe the short term for printing cash, but that's what's important to me. And that's how I run the business. So.
Yeah, I respect that, man. Yeah, I definitely see that being a reasonable like impetus, because before I was doing what I'm doing now, I must have had like 10 different, career paths, and none of them really spoke to me until like the one day I realized, oh no, this is the direction to go, so
sure.
I understand. And definitely like having kids kind of changed your perspective on life a little bit, I'm sure. So I'm curious, man, like, I don't know, if you like what you were doing prior to Advanced, if you're working in a similar field or not, but I'm curious, like, if you have any experience in the past with, energy supplements or anything even remotely similar to Advanced.
Sure. I would say that my skills and specialties, I have some dabbling in like organic chemistry and that kind of stuff, so that does help. But I will say that the crux of the scientific side of things, while guided, is I hire a high level scientist that does all that stuff. So I'm not making those high level or decisions when it comes to those things. I mean, when it comes to, the flavoring, and then how do certain components work with each other? How will its shelf life be for 2 years, or, those types of things. I mean, I'm a big fan of staying in my lane, doing what I do well, and not even beginning to pretend that, I could figure that out, or I could do that too. And so I fully subscribe to the concept of surrounding yourself with people who are experts at what they do, right? And just let them do what they do. It's kind of like, I get DMs all day about, oh, can I get a partnership? And, and that kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, I'd love to help you out. But honestly, I do not do partnership managements, and you got to reach out to the right people, and, they'll do what they can for you. But, and that's simply that, I mean, now, do I like having relationships with our partners, and, and keeping that open line of communication and whatnot? Absolutely. Every single one of them, they can reach out to me, and they know I respond to them, whether it's a Discord DM or if it's a Twitter DM. A lot of them have my cell phone. at one point, Kenny from G1, I mean, like that was like, he was probably texting me every other day, and because there were so many hot topics at that point in time. So we were working through it together, and then it was like 10 a.m., 10 p.m., like it didn't matter, I mean, like I'm available to people if they want it, and some people don't want it, right? And that's okay, that's fine, but for those that want to really be a part of our movement, then I'm there for them.
Yeah, well, certainly part of building a successful company is delegating tasks to people who know how to do them best. You know what I mean? That's what building a company is all about, is finding the best people to handle different segments of the company. So yeah. And I didn't mean to imply like, you don't know anything about like the scientific process of creating a supplement brand. No. I know you have a team that does that. I know that. I was just curious,
I didn't take it that way at all.
Yeah. Okay. Because it's just crazy sometimes, like how you can, like I've done it multiple times in my life where I've kind of taken huge career leaps to like a completely different realm. And I was just curious if you had worked really in supplements or anything before. Anyway, I suppose that sort of leads into my next like thought that I'd like to know about is like, what would you say has been your biggest obstacle with Advanced in terms of, trying to take the healthy alternative route rather than just, falling into line with the rest of your competitors? Like, what's the biggest hurdle that you've had to jump as a result of you taking a different approach with Advanced?
Sure. I think the biggest obstacle is probably that it's factual, that there are a million choices out there. And most consumers are, no offense to anyone, but are fairly uneducated on what they're buying, right? Like, here's something that someone can relate to. Have you ever been down the toothpaste aisle at Target?
Yeah.
The dental aisle, right? I mean, you walk down this thing and it's like left, right, and it is just full of stuff, right? There's like toothpaste, there's toothbrushes, you got the electric toothbrushes, you got floss, and there's like hundreds of different things of each category. Then you got the mouth rinses, and it's like, where do you start? Like, I mean, where do you even begin? Like, and you become super overwhelmed, and what do? I mean, you basically just default to, well, what does everyone else buy, right? And so then it's like, well, that's what I'll buy too, right? And it's not really an educated decision, right? That may not be what's best for you. And I personally feel that the gaming supplement space is exactly the same, right? There's tons and tons of different offerings out there. And the thing is that the space isn't really controlled, and there isn't really a level of standards. And on top of that, people don't know what questions to ask yet or what to look for. Well, some people do, but I feel like that group or that segment of people is much smaller than the bigger mass. And I think that the biggest obstacle is trying to stick to our guns while trying to expand that group of consumers that is here as far as level of understanding and what kind of questions to ask to be, more everyone, hopefully someday. So does that answer your question? Sorry, I don't know.
No, yeah, I think so. Basically the reason why I was thinking of this, and your toothpaste aisle example is really profound. I think you're right. It's like, I think that actually is where brand recognition comes into play. Really, is like people just pick up the brand. Like, I'm gonna be honest, like I bought toothpaste a couple of days ago, and I'm not lying about that. Like I needed toothpaste. I went to the store. I looked at this the aisle, all these options. You got Crest, you got Colgate, and I just like. I think sometimes I buy Crest and sometimes I buy Colgate, and I feel like I never buy the same toothpaste because I'm just buying toothpaste. Like I don't know the difference between any of them, honestly.
Yeah.
Sometimes I buy charcoal, sometimes I buy whatever. Yeah. If it says whitening on it, I think it's good. Like I don't know any better. Yeah. The reason why I was curious was because obviously you guys there are setbacks that you have because you are not compromising on cheap filler ingredients, for example. I think this is a big thing with you guys that I've noticed. It's like your product is like more expensive than a lot of the competitors because you don't make those compromises. And I think that it makes it a lot more difficult for you guys in some ways to maintain course and follow the values that you set out with. And I was just curious, like, you know, how your approach has to be different or what the obstacles are to stay competitive in your corner of the industry.
Yeah. You know, I mean, all in all, the Focus product itself is, in my eyes, a premium product, right? And you touched on that already, and I will never disagree with that. You know, it's our flagship product. It's the one we released first. It is open label. And that's something that the gaming supplement industry is way behind the fitness industry, right? The fitness industry, anyone who's in the fitness and they're looking at pre-workouts and supplements and that kind of stuff, it is like open label is like a de facto standard. And if your product doesn't have an open label, like you're not even part of the conversation. You know, people people will not even look twice at your product, no matter how pretty it is or what claims you have. If it's not open label, there's not a chance they're putting it in their body. You know, which in the gaming space or those type of products are not transparent. You know, they'll make claims of what their products are capable of doing for you, but oftentimes they don't have enough of those ingredients to recreate those results for you. You know, right. There's a YouTuber, his name is Fracno. You heard of him? It's military based. He's done.
Yes, I think I've seen him on Twitter. Yeah,
he's done a phenomenal job at breaking down our formula, other companies' formulas. He's super unbiased. I do
think. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah. I do think I watched. Yeah, I think he did a video that he took it like the top, well, whatever, 6 or 7 brands and products and compared them. And I believe I did watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, and here, I mean, if later I can send you a link for what I would recommend. Just kind of seeing when he does it, that really proves why our formula is great for the viewers if they want to, see like this third party, breakdown, and they can go through the rest of his videos. I mean, he's compared all of our competitors, tried them, etc.
Sure.
But why it works and why it's the best, and that's I'm not sure how we got here.
No, it's okay. We're just talking, dude. It's not
yeah.
I think you answered my question. I think there's a price to pay for having a premium product, and really ultimately the goal is trying to figure out how to raise awareness and teach people about the difference between your product and other people's products. And you are right. I didn't think about that either. In the health industry, or I don't know what you called it, the athletic industry. It's like
fitness industry.
The fitness industry, it is true. Like everything's open label, and in esports, it's like in our industry, it's just not like, and not only with energy supplements, but I think that in general in the industry, there's like a lack of transparency. So
yeah. But yeah, I mean, like I've seen some companies, in theory, well, not in theory, just based on their label, you can tell they put a pixie dust level of an ingredient in there. Right. And then they make the benefit claim because it's in there, but there's not enough of it to actually create that effect. And I personally feel that's like a travesty to the space, and it's really holding us back and holding us down, and it's misleading to consumers, and that's why it's really important to us that when we came out and put our product on the market, that we were open label and that anyone could look at it and know exactly what they're putting into their body. But yeah, I mean, I will say that I actually have seen a shift happen ever since that we entered the market 3 years ago, where companies are now starting to move towards open labels. And it, honestly, it makes me feel good inside to know that we're sparking this change that is ultimately better for the consumer. And so that consumers can begin to make, better educated choices about what they put in their bodies, and it's not about winning or losing to me against the competitors and what they offer. If at the end of the day that we're moving towards just a more cohesive environment that's better for consumers, I mean, that's important to me, and that kind of goes back to what you asked me earlier of like, what was the impetus for doing this, doing that, and that goes back to like my kids, right? Like, I mean, my kids are already playing video games right now, but they're a little too young in my opinion, for me personally as a parent. I'm not giving them caffeine. But at some point, they'll be in a similar situation where they're like, oh, I want to drink stuff too, all that kind of stuff. And, I want them to have the ability to A, be educated and make better decisions, and hopefully B, the products out there at that point in time will, as a universal whole, be more open, be more transparent about what's in their products so that they can make good decisions. So.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, it is something that I think you guys have it's a lane that you guys have kind of created, to be honest. I mean, I don't mean to make this whole podcast me just like gassing you up and making you guys seem like, but like sometimes it just takes one company to come out with a product and everyone realizes like, oh yeah, no, they're right. Like we should be open label. Like we need to move in this direction. So I've definitely seen the wave as well of interest in healthy alternatives and, open label products like yours. So it's a good thing. And I think that, of course you guys have to figure out how to make the business work. And that's like your job. It's like all you probably think about is like, well, how do we make it work? And it's understandable, but I think it's already impressive what you guys have done by sort of starting this conversation in our space. Yeah. And I just want to let you know that, like, I respect that a lot, man.
I appreciate that. Super, 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 super. But yeah, I mean, it's like, you're not wrong though, by being open label and having to stick to the label itself, it makes the cost of manufacturing the product go up 100%. I mean, you can't hide behind a proprietary blend and, put just pixie dust amounts of products in there or ingredients in there, and that drives your cost down. And then obviously your margin's super high. And that is simply something that I'm not ever going to do. And our solution to creating a slightly lower MSRP product was the energy line. So Focus was first, then we released Energy. And the major change between Focus and Energy was just removing the clinically proven ingredient, new level. And that was our way of doing that. So we're still open label with Energy. You know exactly what you're getting. And some people just want caffeine without the hardcore level of I'm a competitive gamer and just want something that tastes good to sip and drink while I'm gaming. And so we put that out there for that segment of people who that's all they're asking for. And they can also benefit from the lower price point. So we're still sticking to our guns as far as our morals and the things that we stand behind, but still producing a quality product, but you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah. Well, I think that philosophy will certainly pay off long term. It's definitely a long-term vision. I'm curious, are you guys, in your mind, are you interested in exploring products outside of just the powder drink supplement? Or have you guys been experimenting or thinking about doing anything outside of that product? I know it's obviously your flagship product. It's a standard in the industry, of course, but have you guys thought about, reaching out and doing anything else?
I think there's always plans, and I'd be probably unwise to reveal plans at the same
that's fair.
time of future things per se. And there's so one thing right now is it boils down to R&D and capital is probably the next thing that is on our horizon as a company. To date, we have bootstrapped our way from day zero to now, and we haven't taken any capital, no investments or anything like that. And truth be told, I am actually starting to heavily consider a seed round for Advanced and to really propel us to our next phase as a company. And yes, that does mean that producing new products, different products, and really giving more options and more quality products for people in our industry. But yeah, so yes is the short answer. What is it? Can't tell you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I should have known the answer was going to be that.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense. I feel like, as you know, I'm sure you agree with me, there's just so many different directions to take these kind of products and, healthy alternatives to things that already exist. I'm actually surprised you guys haven't had a seed round yet. That's impressive to me that you guys have done what you've done so far, just bootstrapping.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously this last year has not been good for fundraising for anyone. Yeah, man, I'm just kind of shocked by that. Actually, it's impressive, man.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like it's a fine line between, putting out new products to grow company, but also not going too wild where you're just throwing stuff on the wall at that point and just hoping to see what sticks. I would say to date, Advanced as a company has not missed, and I'm not trying to miss. Right? I mean, that's just not how I want to run the company, in the sense of just throw the spaghetti on the wall and whatever happens. I want to make good products that that because it came from Advanced, that it's gonna work, it's good for you, it's safe, etc. And it takes a lot to get to that point, right? I mean, there's just no level, there's no compromise when it comes to those types of things. Yeah.
So your flagship, the very first product that you guys came out with, correct me if I'm wrong, was it you just came out with Focus first?
Yep.
And what was the R&D time and turnaround to come out with like a new product, like something like Chill or something like Energy?
Each new product usually takes us anywhere from, I'd say, 1.5 years to maybe 2 years, all said and done. And then new flavors per se, that's like a 6 to 8 month process. Especially when we do these custom flavors. I mean, like I was saying before, that I really enjoy my relationships I have with my partners and that kind of stuff. And when it comes to making these custom flavors for the partners, I mean, there's so many stages to that process when they are actually involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's literally even from the art process, right? Like, we make the little avatars that we put on our jars, and for their likeness. And it's like, well, we start with a conversation of what do you want to look like? Like, I mean, obviously our art is pretty true to life, so we're not trying to make, you look like you're 80 pounds less than what you really are, or, super jacked when you're not. But I mean, like, what do you want to be wearing, and what kind of pose do you want to have? And, oh, you have a tattoo? Can I get like 8 angles of that tattoo so that, we can really replicate that thing? Cause that's something that really embodies you. It really represents you. And it is a characteristic of you. And so that's like this back and forth that goes on and on and on. And then from there, it's like, okay, so wait, what flavors do you like? Like, what is something that you want to share with the rest of the world, because that's something you personally like? And then trying to take that, create a base. Okay, here's 3 versions of it. Try them. Let me know what you think. Which one do you like more? Tell me that one. Then I'll tweak that one a bit, and then we'll see if we can get it, to a level that's good for everyone, not just you. And so, and then from there, then you got to go through the actual production and the quality certification and all that kind of stuff. So it can take a lot of time, but I'd say that, I mean, I find that's very fun, enjoyable, to work with the partners and that kind of stuff. And I think as a whole, that's what Advanced is kind of about. I mean, like, everything we do, we want to have fun with it. I mean, like, that's why we do those comic books. I mean, like, Mr. Fruit got a comic book, and and I'll tell you right now, the comic books aren't for profit. I mean, not even close.
It's for fun.
I mean, yeah, it's just totally for fun. It's cool for the community that follows Mr. Fruit. We're working on another comic right now, and I mean, it's kind of a painstaking process, to be honest. But it's just cool to do, and we'll do that because it's fun,
So you're telling me that if you and I, if I partner with you guys, myself, and I made a can, you wouldn't make me 6'5" and buff by request?
Unfortunately not. Maybe in a comic book. Huh?
I mean, I am 6'5" and buff. I mean, if you don't think so, maybe there's like a problem with the camera feed or something.
The hoodie hides a lot.
That's true. It is. Yeah. It's not very complimentary. Yeah, no, I imagine like the process of like choosing flavors for partners, especially, takes like insanely long, because even if they tell you right away what flavor they want, like you said, you have to have different versions and have them test it. Like especially if they're not nearby or they can't come to like your headquarters, which I imagine nobody has recently, like especially with COVID in last year, like you have to like send them samples and then wait for feedback. Yep. I mean, I can imagine it takes forever.
Yeah.
And
it does.
I would like, have you ever, so for your other flavors that aren't with partners, flavors that your team puts together, and this is maybe getting a little granular, and I don't mean to get too like crazy with the details. I'm just very fascinated with it. Like, how do you guys pick a new flavor? Like, do you have big meetings about like, oh, this, this quarter or whatever, we want to put out a new flavor, or, you plan a flavor a year ahead, or do you just go to the kitchen and ask your kids what their favorite flavor is? Like, what's the process like?
I think that one of our major sources for inspiration is from our other partners that don't have their own custom flavors, right? So in our private partner Discord, I actually have a channel that's set up as like flavor ideas or something like that. I don't know. Eric made it. And people will just randomly be like, "Ooh, it'd be a good idea, XYZ." And, so I just have this list of things that are just being populated all the time. And, even though they may not be our biggest partners or will have their own custom flavor, I like to, let them be a part of the process as well by having their input and actually taking some of those things and run with it. Long story short, just from our other partners. So.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's cool. Yeah. I'm in that Discord as well, but I never suggested a flavor. I think that's probably the best way to go about it. I just was curious, and, I wasn't asking for industry trade secrets or anything like that.
No, not at all. Nothing to hide there.
Of course. Well, yeah, of course, as per your brand, I suppose. So are you guys like right now, obviously this past year might have been maybe a bit of an exception, but do you guys work out of an office, or are you still working remotely mostly?
We're mostly remote. I would say that our team is pretty scattered throughout the country, I'd say. Everywhere from Minnesota to Michigan to Florida. Our creative director is from Canada. I have people in California. And the dream is to have some form of a brick and mortar, like office that everyone is together and cohesive. Is it necessary for us as a business? No, it's not necessary. Would it be cool and maybe a little bit better for just team morale and that kind of stuff? Yeah. But it's not, and who knows, maybe that'll never happen, because of just the way things are moving as an industry, as a world.
Right.
More and more corporations and companies are embracing that. Well, this might be the norm. It's just this work from home thing, and that may be that. I don't know. I mean, I can't really speak to the future. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. Like, I mean, we're in the same situation. Triumph, we all work remotely right now as well. And obviously, our goal, because we have competitive teams, is to work out of a facility. But even that, like, we've been talking about this a lot this year because of COVID, of course. to your point, like, yeah, I think everybody is starting to realize that you can actually do a lot more work from home than we used to think that was possible. I think now that everyone's been sort of forced to work from home, and you realize like, oh, I can actually get a lot done. I can still do 99% of my job from my home office.
Yeah.
And that raises the question of like, is this the way the world's going to be forever, even after the pandemic clears up and things go back to normal and travel is no longer restricted? And honestly, I'm not sure. It's a discussion that we've been having internally too. It's like, to be honest, we could do most of what we want to do from home.
Yeah. Yeah. It's obviously nicer on the bottom line, right? I mean, if you're not paying for a building lease, rent, and all those types of things. So, I mean, that's something to take in consideration as well. But I can understand for people in the creative side of the business, it's nice to be together, bounce ideas, and just jam on things together. I mean, there's something to be said about that type of physical human need for physical interaction, I suppose, or at least space, and that's just part of our nature. I don't know if that's something you can ever replace, but we do the best we can, and just like everyone else right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm the type of guy that likes to be in the pit with my team. You know what I mean? And I think, at least now I still feel like you can get a lot more done if you're with your team creatively, bouncing ideas off each other and you're sort of in the same space, but maybe it won't always be the case. I don't know. Yeah. It certainly creates a lot of challenges for all companies in every industry. I suppose in esports, I've said this before on the podcast, even with other guests, because unfortunately every episode turns into some discussion about how life has changed during COVID because of how it's so severely impacted every corner of the industry. Yeah. But I think esports in gaming in general has obviously had a huge year, right? And so it's like one of the only industries, the gaming industry, where the lockdown hasn't really affected anything other than, I guess, games being developed, crunches with studios, but it's something we do from home anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you've lost the in-person tournaments. You've lost the, it's the fighting game segment has been demolished pretty much. Right. I mean, like the Super Smash Bros. Tournaments or the Street Fighter tournaments. I don't think Evo even happened this past year, did it?
I think they did something. No, they were supposed to do something online, right? And it got canceled by Nintendo. I believe. Yeah. I think, to be honest, the Smash community, man, I'll say it. I think the Smash community is being ruined by Nintendo anyway. I don't think it mattered whether or not they had lands. I think Nintendo could easily sanction tournaments to be online to some extent to keep everything going the way every other games community has. But you're certainly right. Yeah, not having LAN events has been rough for everyone in esports. Yeah. So you said you're obviously big into Diablo and Destiny. I'm curious, like, are you more on the just focusing on the gaming side, or are you really passionate about esports as well? I know Destiny doesn't really have a huge esports community. What is other than Destiny, like, do you have a favorite esport? Do you really follow esports?
Are we asking on a personal level or a business
just
level?
On a personal level. Obviously on a business level, you pay attention to everything, you're open to everything, but just on a personal level, like, what's your favorite stuff to watch, if at all?
Yeah. So from a personal level, when it comes to spectating, I'd say that I have a love-hate relationship with Overwatch.
As we all do.
And I love at the tier 1 level how amazing those productions are and how they put together these huge stadium arena events, which is tough to do now. But, they created this spectacle from esports. I mean, to the point where they had to be recognized by ESPN. And, we had the finals, on ESPN. Like, what a world to live in, Right. I mean, it's like, it's mind-boggling to consider that became a reality where players came internationally to compete on a video game. I mean, that's crazy. My my hate for it is kind of the structure between tier 2 and tier 1, and how players can be picked up and dropped and poached at any given time. How difficult it is to watch even my own tier 2 sponsored teams. And everything just seems super arbitrary. It's just like, it seems like there's this huge gap, between tier 1 and tier 2, which makes it really, really hard to be a fan, right? Or to be a spectator. It's like, if you were a fan of the NFL and you could only watch 5 of your team's 17 games, like, it's hard. It's hard to care or to keep that continuity of feeling like you're really in touch with your team, so Overwatch would be my answer.
Yeah, I respect that.
Yeah. And as far as like personal interests and that kind of stuff, I started way back in the day when, you're playing like anything that resembled a video game, like back then, like Magic Carpet and to Doom, to Heretic, to Hexen. I'm a big fan of the Raven guys for creating those games way back in the day. And eventually, Quake 2, and what else? Obviously, I mentioned Diablo. And at some point, I took a really big turn in gaming when Final Fantasy VII came out. And that opened my eyes to this whole new segment of gaming where I was no longer playing with other people. Like from that moment on, I think I was really hard on like RPGs and that kind of stuff, and just playing video games by myself per se. Mm-hmm. My siblings can still oftentimes reminisce on moments where they're like, they recognize now when they're older that they were granting my characters for me back then. And and they're like, is that really what happened? And I'm like, yeah, kind of, and that's kind of funny. But then I was kind of out of the competitive gaming, first person gaming, all the way up until Destiny happened, actually. So there's a super long hiatus from anything that was online multiplayer competitive gaming. And then when Destiny came out, it was just like all in on that, and now I'm back to casual gaming. I mean, now that I spend more times just hanging out with my kids and that kind of stuff. And so like games I've most recently completed would be Mario Odyssey, Paper Mario, and I don't know what else have we been playing. One of the Harry Potter Lego games or something like that. So yeah. I mean, that's changed quite a bit. As far as my personal gaming time, I'm really big on sim racing, actually. So I have a whole chassis and rigs, steering wheel, pedals, and I use a VR headset for that. It's super cool. It's wild to think that you can, do those types of things in this day and age. But that I consider way more hardcore. That takes a lot of mental fortitude to do sim racing. And it's not,
that's intense, man. You actually have the whole rig.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I might have to come over and try it, dude. I've never actually played in a proper rig with like a wheel and anything like that.
Yeah, like force feedback, and my pedals have the actual tension and all that kind of stuff, and cool. It's really cool. Yeah. But now again, going back to the kids thing, now that I have kids, I have to be responsible, and I don't go to the track anymore and actually track my car and all that kind of stuff because it's really expensive. I mean, it's a set of tires and brake pads every time you go, but it's also kind of an unnecessary risk. So now I just live my dreams on a sim rig.
Yeah. That's not depressing at all, man. No, that's cool. You definitely showed your age with your favorite games list, so I appreciate that. I think I look younger than I am. I used to play Diablo, and actually, it's funny that you bring up Destiny, because I feel like we are sort of opposites in a way, because I was actually playing really, really competitively before Destiny. I was playing Halo a lot. I was a big fan of like Halo 2, Halo 3 for many years. And of course, after Halo 3 or after Halo Reach was when the studio stopped producing, when Bungie stopped producing Halo and started working, or at least started preparing for Destiny, right? So that was around the time where I was so mad that they dropped Halo. And the Halo went to 343 that I had like boycotted Destiny, and I'm kind of sad that I did, because I have a lot of friends now that played the game for years, and I feel like I never got into it. It was too late.
Yeah, that's kind of how that goes with that type of game, man.
Yeah, it's a grinder.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, man. Look, I appreciate all the insight, dude. I like to learn about things, and I loved learning about Advanced. Like, it was good enough for me to know what your guys' product was. I do believe in your vision for the product. It was just finally nice to meet the man behind it and learn a little bit at a granular level.
Yeah, you say the man behind it, but honestly, it's not just me, right? I mean, it's me. It's a small part of it is me, and it's my team. It's the people that are working for the company day in and day out. And finally, really, it's our partners in our community. I mean, that's who makes us who we are and helps us do what we do and allows us to do what we do. But I appreciate and love every single one of those people that are there for us. So,
yeah, huge respect for you, man. Honestly, I love what you guys are doing. For our listeners, one final time before we end the show, I just want to remind you, go check out Advanced. Advanced.gg is their website. They have a lot of products for sale, including shakers, jerseys, and stuff like that. Show them some love, man. I'm telling you, these guys are doing things differently. They're doing great work. Peter, thank you so much for your time today, man. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Take it easy, man.